started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zach Davidson. I am the Nursing Enrollment Advisor for Trent University. And like I had just mentioned there, tonight's topic of discussion is all about transferring into the Bachelor of Science of Nursing program that Trent University offers. Now, we do have two streams of the BSCN degree. We have the four-year collaborative nursing program, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, but we also have the 28-month compressed BSCN degree program. Now, these two programs are the exact same in terms of content. They are the same degree requirements, same amount of clinical hours. It's just that the compressed program is taking that four-year degree and, as the name suggests, compressing it down into 28 months. This program is ideal for folks that are in the situation that you may find yourself in, who already have some undergraduate degree courses completed and are looking to then jump into the BSCN degree and get it done in a expedited period of time. I imagine most of you have already previously applied to the BSCN degree and may have received an alternative offer to Honor Science and are now looking to reapply for the following fall intake. Always enjoy saying that. However, there may be some of you who are also coming from different undergraduate degree programs. Perhaps you applied to, kinesiology or biology for your first year at Trent, and now are maybe thinking, let's see about nursing. You've been able to find this program, and you now want to make the switch into the degree. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm just going to be going over some key details, mainly looking at dates, deadlines, admission requirements, different things like that to sort of help you navigate your way into the degree. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, I do ask that you just post them in the chat, and that way then we can answer them. However, at the end of the presentation, if folks do want to unmute themselves, if they want to turn on their webcams and ask questions sort of, verbally as opposed to writing them out, we can certainly do that, but we'll just wait until the end of the presentation to answer questions in that fashion. Joining me tonight is also a few other folks from Trent. We do have Kathleen Crook, who's the academic coordinator. I believe also, too, we do have some academic advisors that are in here. They're mainly here just to sort of learn a little bit more about the admissions process themselves so that they can better help students in the future. So with that, let's get things started. All righty. So first and foremost, folks, the application to transfer into the nursing program is now open. It's been open since about the middle of September. The way in which internal students will apply to the nursing program is by completing a MyTrent portal form. So this form is titled Transfer to Nursing. Now, it can be located, like I had said, on your MyTrent student portal under the Academics tab. So this is where you will find this form. Essentially, it just asks a series of questions. At first, you're going to put in sort of your name and your student ID number, and then it's going to ask you a series of questions. Essentially, what these questions are you working towards meeting the prerequisites for the program, or have you already completed some of those prerequisites? And we're going to get into those prerequisites here in a second. But basically what you're going to want to do, if you haven't done so already, you're going to want to complete this form in its entirety and then hit submit. Once you've done that, that will be your application to the nursing program for fall 2024. So internal students do not have to apply through OUAC, similar to what you would have done last year. Internal students don't have to do that. They will now just be completing this form. What's nice about this is this would obviously be a free form because you're already at Trent. So internal students won't have to worry about applying through OUAC and paying any sort of application fee, which is great. Another thing that I do want to note, probably for a lot of you who would have applied to the nursing program previously, you most likely would have written the Casper test, which was a part of the admission requirements in previous years. However, this is no longer the case. students are no longer required to complete the CASPER test as a part of the admission requirements for the nursing program. So it is something that we have removed. So moving forward, we're only going to be looking at prerequisites and grades to determine students' eligibility for the program. Now, the admissions the admission requirements for the collaborative and the compressed program. So I'm first going to talk about both streams and the requirements for both streams. And then I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about the additional requirements needed for the compressed nursing program, because they do have some extra requirements for students who are interested in going into that stream of the BSc degree. So what we're looking for as a university applicant, you're going to need to have a minimum 70% average. Now, this average is going to be based off of your undergraduate degree courses that you're going to be taking at Trent in your first year. So for some of you, you've probably have come from high school and may have originally applied to the nursing program as a high school applicant. And in that situation, when you would have applied as a high school applicant, we would have been looking at your high school grades. That's no longer going to be the case when it comes to determining your admissions average. We're going to be looking at your we're going to be looking at your undergraduate courses, your courses completed at Trent, to determine your admissions average. Now, students require a minimum of 4.0 university credits, or that would be, 8 0.5 credit courses taken at Trent. So this is the minimum amount of credits that you need to take in order to essentially be looked at as a university applicant, and for us to use your university courses to determine your nursing average, or your nursing admissions average. For university students seeking to upgrade their admission, so there may be some of you out there that have already done an undergraduate degree or are coming from another university. So in this case, university students that are seeking to upgrade their admissions, perhaps you applied to nursing previously and you didn't have a competitive enough average, courses taken at Trent and your previous institution will be included in your calculation for admissions to the maximum of the last 10 full credits, or the equivalent of 2 years of undergraduate studies. So that means that we're going to be looking at what you've taken at Trent, as well as what you've taken previously, if your previous education was at another university. And if that is the case, we're going to look at the last 2 years of your undergraduate studies. Now, one thing that I do want to stress is this next point here. Meeting the minimum requirements won't guarantee admissions into the program. So if you are meeting the prerequisite requirements and the minimum average, that won't guarantee a spot in the nursing program. Even for internal students, the application is quite competitive. So we do want to stress that a competitive average is going to be needed. Now, getting into the prerequisites. Now, this is often a point where folks may get a little bit confused, because the way in which we can ensure that students satisfy prerequisites is sort of looking at their education from, I guess, a more holistic standpoint. We're able to look at students' courses that they've taken not only at Trent when it comes to satisfying prerequisites, but we can also look at what they've previously taken, either at the secondary or post-secondary level. So applicants must have completed the prerequisites from either of the following levels of education to be considered for both the collaborative and the compressed program. Now, if you've taken some of these courses at the secondary level, like English, biology, chemistry, math, at the grade 12 4U level, and you have completed those courses with a minimum of 70%, then we can use those courses in order to satisfy the prerequisites for nursing. So let's say, for example, you have achieved a 70% in chemistry and math when you were in high school, let's say last year. You wouldn't have to then take a university level chemistry and math at Trent, because you would have already technically satisfied that prerequisite from what you've taken previously at the high school level. Same goes for college. If you were previously in a college program, let's say a PN program or a pre-health program, and you took 2 semesters of English at a 70%, And English can be, a little bit more flexible. It doesn't have to be like an actual English course. It could be something like a communications course, or bio, chem, and math at a 65%. Well, we can use, again, those courses to satisfy the prerequisites for nursing. Same goes for university. 1 semester of English, bio, chem, and math, all at a 60%. We can then use those courses to satisfy prerequisites. What I really want to stress is that we can essentially look at the last 10 years of your education and see what courses you've done to determine whether or not you've met the prerequisites. So for a lot of you out there, chances are you've probably met one or more of your prerequisites from your previous studies. If you're unsure if you have or not, you can certainly either check on your own by looking at your transcripts, or you can always get in touch with me just to make sure that you have covered off those prerequisites. Just want to make sure that that is something that students are very clear moving forward, so that there aren't any confusion about that. Now, this is where we're getting into those additional requirements or prerequisites for the compressed nursing program. So the reason why there's these extra sets of requirements and courses that students need to take within their first year at Trent is by taking these courses, this allows you to then complete the compressed nursing program in that 28-month span. So if you look at the courses, these are actually courses that are required for the nursing degree. So by sort of making you take those in your first year at Trent in the honor science program or in any other degree program, you're then meeting some of the degree requirements already for the nursing program before getting into the degree. And that's why students are able to then do the compressed program in a 28-month period of time. And this is especially the case for first-year students, because traditionally, the compressed program was for students who had more than 2 years of undergraduate studies. But by taking these courses, and I'll get into these here in a second, in your first year, you're then allowing yourself to then be able to go into that compressed program with some of the degree requirements already met. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into some of these courses here. So what we're looking for is we're looking to ensure that students have human anatomy and human physiology, which would be Bio 1050 and 1051. Now, a lot of you have probably already gotten yourself registered for Biology 1050 because it is offered in the fall semester. So most of you are probably in this course. Same goes with psychology. Psychology 1020 and 1030, Introductory to Psychology. Most of you have probably already gotten yourself registered for Psychology 1020. Now, when it comes to Biology 1051 and Psychology 1030, those courses would be offered in the winter semester. So if you haven't enrolled for those courses yet, we would really encourage you to do so, especially if you are interested in applying into the compressed program. So make sure you're getting yourself registered for those courses. One thing that I did want to touch upon, and I don't want to get bogged down in this particular aspect, but for some of you who have come from other post-secondary studies, you may have actually gotten some of those courses, the Bio 1050, 1051, Psych 1020, 1030, actually as transfer credits, which is great. That's great. That is something that can be used to meet these specific course requirements. So if that is the case, then you wouldn't have to worry about retaking those courses because you have received them in transfer credits. The only time where that becomes a bit of a problem is if the course that you took at a previous institution that you have gotten the transfer credit for in one of these courses was done more than 5 years ago, then we can't actually use that transfer credit. I know it seems kind of a weird rule, but that's to ensure that you have recent and relevant knowledge within those courses. And so if you have done those courses at a previous institution more than 5 years ago, then you would have to then take them at Trent again. So if you are confused about that and you have these courses as transfer credits, but you're not sure if we can use them or not, I just really then encourage you to reach out to me and get connected with me so that we can go over that, just to make sure that you aren't missing anything there. Okay, I'm not going to spend any more time talking about transfer credits because that is certainly a rabbit hole that we can go far, far down in. Moving on to that next bullet there, that third bullet there in the first box on the right-hand side. At least 2 full credits in any subject area, 4 courses, 4 half-credit courses. And if you look at it, so the 2 biology, the 2 psychology, that's going to equal 2 credits because each of those courses are valued at half a credit. So that means that all you have to do is take in another additional 2 credits to get you that 4 credit minimum requirement, which we talked about in the previous slide. So all in all, you're going to need to take 8 half credit courses. Now, a lot of the times I get this question is, well, what do I take for those additional 4 courses? Well, the short answer that I often give students is take courses that you know that you're going to do well in. Take courses that you know that you're going to get a high grade in, so that you can then ensure that you're getting the most competitive average possible. Because remember, these courses here, the 2 biology, the 2 psych, as well as the additional 4 courses, those are going to be the courses that we're going to look at when we determine your admissions average. So we really want to make sure then that you're using those 4 additional courses to maximize your admissions average and get you that competitive average as possible. Now, for some of you, you may actually end up having to use one of those 4 courses to take a prerequisite because you don't have one or more met from your previous studies. So you may find that you have to take a chemistry course, you may have to take a math course. So you may then end up having to use one of those 4 courses to satisfy a prerequisite. Another thing too that I do want to stress is that you can obviously take more than just 4 additional courses because the typical full-time course load for a student in any given year is 5 credits or 10 courses. So don't feel like you only have to take 4 credits in total. You can take more than that if you feel like that would be a benefit to you. So just keep that in mind. Other courses that students can take sometimes is they can take their Indigenous course requirement in their first year. So that is a requirement for all degrees at Trent, including nursing. So you can take that in your first year before getting into nursing. And then that's another requirement that you've already met by the time you get into the program. So oftentimes students choose to take that as well too. Another course that students choose to get into if they have enough transfer credits is biomedical ethics, which is philosophy 2390, if I'm not mistaken. But that is usually for folks that already have enough transfer credits because it's actually a 2nd year course. So some students are able to take that, some students are not. But again, I really stress the importance of in those 4 extra courses that you have to take, really try to take stuff that you know that you're going to do well in. And again, those can be any courses. Those can be arts-based courses. Those can be science-based courses. They don't have to be from a particular discipline. They just have to be, there just has to be enough of them in order for you to meet that 4 credit requirement. Now, looking at some of you that may have more than 1 year of undergraduate studies, this is something that would be of interest to you, which is we're essentially looking at then at this point in time, just Psych 1020 and 1030, or 1 credit at the 3000 level or above. And then again, we're going to be looking at the last 10 credits or 2 years of full-time studies. So the requirements do become a little bit less as you have more education. And that's because, again, these credits that you've already completed, those 10 full credits, will be used to meet other requirements within the nursing degree, which will then allow you to take courses like human anatomy and physiology once you get into the nursing program. Now, all of these courses that I have mentioned, the 2 biology and the 2 psychology courses, those courses need to be at a minimum average of 60%. So that is something that I do, again, want to stress on, is that making sure that you're not only completing those courses, but also completing them with a minimum average of 60%. Alrighty, diving a little bit further now into the prerequisites, specifically missing prerequisites. Oftentimes I find that the 2 missing prerequisites that students have are, or I guess don't have, are chemistry and math. Now, there's a couple of ways in which you can actually satisfy these prerequisites and meet these missing prerequisites. The first option is taking them in the winter semester. So you could look to enroll in a first-year chemistry or first-year math course starting in the winter semester. Now, this is sometimes easier said than done, mainly because the first-year chemistry course that's offered in the winter semester, and this is sort of unique just for the chemistry. Math, it's a little bit easier to do in the winter semester. But for that first-year chemistry course offered in the winter semester, it actually has a prerequisite, which is another first-year chemistry course that's only offered in the fall semester. So if you haven't taken chemistry in the fall, it's going to be difficult for you to get yourself enrolled in that chemistry course offered in the winter. Now, there are options for you to get into this course. There is what we call a prerequisite rate waiver, and I have a slide that will talk a little bit about that. But if you are missing this prerequisite and you haven't already enrolled in a chemistry course for the fall semester, I would actually recommend the next option, which is the second bullet here. You can then also choose to complete your missing prerequisites through high school. So if students do choose to go through this route, they would need to complete the intention to upgrade form, which is located on your My Trent portal. It can be found under the academics tab. Students would be required to submit final transcripts once these missing prerequisite courses are completed. So again, by being flexible with prerequisite requirements, students can actually, who are in their first year at Trent, choose to take some of their missing prerequisites back at high school, and we'd be able to accept those. Now, those prerequisite courses would have to be the grade 12 4U level courses in your missing prerequisite subject area, so either biology, well, really it's usually just chemistry or math, because even if you don't have biology coming into Trent, you're going to satisfy that through taking the biology courses, human anatomy and physiology, and actually your English prerequisite, if you don't already have that, will essentially be waived because you're going to be completing at least 1 year of undergraduate studies at Trent. So those two prerequisites we usually don't have to worry about. It's the chemistry and math that we typically have to worry about. And again, you have a couple of options when completing those courses, either through Trent or through taking them at the high school level. I often recommend completing these courses either through the Independent Learning Center or virtual high school. One thing to note, though, these would obviously be virtual options to completing these prerequisite courses. If you're looking for something that would be in person, you may be able to check with some of the local school boards within Peterborough to see if they offer something in person. Alrighty, getting into some frequently asked questions about prerequisites. I need a prerequisite for nursing, but the course is full. What should I do? You can ask yourself to be added onto a wait list. So there is a wait list feature when registering for courses that you can place yourself on. You can continue to check the academic timetable on a regular basis to see if there is some availability and opening. Sometimes they may even add additional sections for courses that are offered in the winter semester based on demand. And also explore backup options. And those backup options are what we already talked about in the previous slide, like taking those missing prerequisites at the high school level. I cannot get into a winter course because I do not have the prerequisite. So this would be something that students would come across if they're trying to enroll in that winter semester chemistry course and haven't taken the fall semester chemistry course. You could try to do a prerequisite waiver. And this is something that you would find on the My Trent student portal, again, under the academics tab. Honestly, I would still encourage you, even if you're really strongly devoted to taking your prerequisites at the university level here at Trent, I would still encourage you to at least entertain the idea of taking these courses at high school. Mainly because it is a bit easier to do them because you don't have to try to jump through these hoops of filling out prerequisite waivers and things like that, especially when it comes to chemistry. But also, too, because you'll be applying to nursing as a university applicant, the courses that you would have taken in high school for prerequisites will only be used to satisfy prerequisites. They won't end up being used in your admissions calculation because they're not university level courses, they're high school level courses. So if you're apprehensive about taking a university level chemistry or math at Trent, then just take them at high school, because then they won't be used in your admissions average. So that is something to also keep in mind as well. Alrighty, this is another option as well too. I would say this is probably the last resort option. If you don't have any other options, you could potentially look at doing this, which would be completing a prerequisite course by going through a letter of permission. Essentially, what a letter of permission is it allows students to take a university undergraduate course through a different institution. This is some of the information about LOPs, or letter of permission. You can complete the form on, again, the MyTrent student portal under the academics tab. The deadline for the winter letter of permission, so to take a winter semester course at a different institution, would be November 14th, so that's coming up. And you would have to provide Trent with that transcript from that other institution by August the 15th. Those would be your eligibility requirements in order to do an LOP. That would be the associated cost. And that's, again, the associated cost to just complete the letter of permission form. There would still be a tuition cost on top of that, I believe. So that would be something else to factor in as well too. Probably taking a letter of permission may end up being a little bit costly, unless that's something that would count towards your full-time course load and wouldn't cost anything additional. I may have to resort to asking one of the advisors in the chat if that's correct or not. Anyways, moving on to some important dates and deadlines. Obviously, the first important date was when the application opened. That was back in September. The next is the application deadline, which we have already discussed, but there it is again, February 16th, 2024. And the last point there, March 2024, this is typically when we start to send out offers to the program. So for some of you who have already applied or are looking to apply within the next couple of weeks or over the next month, you're going to apply, and then you probably won't hear from admissions from nursing for a few months until around March, when we start to send out offers to both the collaborative and the compressed program. And typically we will be sending out offers until the program is full, and that usually happens around mid to late May, even sometimes into early June. So that would be sort of the time frame of when we'd be sending out offers and when you could potentially hear back from us as to whether or not you've gotten an offer. And because you're an internal student, all communication will be sent to your MyTrent email or your Trent email, student email, about being accepted or not being accepted. And I think that about does it for me. So at this point in time, if folks do have any questions about what we had just discussed or what I had just discussed, please feel free to do so. Of course, in the future, if you do have questions, you can always reach out and ask. Nursingadmissions@trentu.ca is the best way to get in contact with myself or my colleague Lucy, who is the nursing admissions assessor. She couldn't be here tonight, but this would be the best way to get in contact with either one of us. I do also hold one-on-one virtual or phone meetings. I can also do in-person meetings as well too. So if you do want to ever meet one-on-one, send an email through this email address asking for that, and we can certainly set something up. Okay, so I do see some hands.